Auth 66, I return. I took the weekend off. A lot of people who are doing this challenge don't necessarily record on the weekends. I'd like to. I just had a family wedding this weekend and just a lot of personal commitments that meant I just figured I'd take the weekend off. So today, I have a arbitrary topic, which might feel like maybe it doesn't belong on an Auth 66 or on LinkedIn or any of the places that I share it. But I still think it's important because I think it's transferable and relatable. But today I wanted to talk about how we show up for people in our lives, right? More specifically, like friendships. I mean, that could be like colleagues or people that you work with, or it could be, the relationships that we make at vendors. It could be relationships that we make in the industry. But I guess, I've been thinking a lot about it, and I'm like, there's a lot that we can do to foster a relationship. But one of the things that I kind of talked about when I talked about team building in my talk at MSP Geek, that I think is relatable to this is like not just how you build the fluffy, the touchy-feely stuff, but how do you create accountability? How do you speak up when you might be uncomfortable? How do you challenge the people that are around you? Because, I think some people think, oh, it's a friend's job to just always tell you that you're right. And I mean, if you're venting, if you're just trying to get something off your chest, that's probably your job. But if you are, a friend, a colleague, or whatever that keeps hearing the same thing over and over again, there comes a point where you might need to challenge people. You might have to say, like, I hear you. I've heard you say this before. And I find, when I hear you say this, I always have a question about this part. Or have you thought about it this way? Because while being there for someone might be, listening, sometimes it's also challenging too. Sometimes it's also pulling them outside of the narrative that they might be creating. Because we all do that. We all get in our heads about, this is the way it is. And if our friends only ever reinforce that and never challenge us, I don't know that that's really a sign of friendship. I think that's a sign of complacency. And look, I don't want somebody lecturing me every 2 seconds, or, there's definitely moments where I just want someone to tell me that I'm right. But for growth, for the deepening of friendship, for accountability in relationships, and to not burn people out, it's kind of important to say, I think you might be wrong about this. I'm not saying you are wrong, but you might be. Have you thought about it this way? And I think that's okay, because it's a necessary thing in life. I think we've gotten to the point where maybe that doesn't exist as much anymore. And that's kind of sad, because some of my best moments of growth have been when somebody challenged my preconceived notions. And I mean, respectfully, nobody wants to be called an idiot or stupid or whatever. But almost approach it with curiosity. I actually had a really great conversation with one of my texts today about being curious, when you're hitting a challenge, just asking questions and gathering more information. And in these cases here, I think that curiosity would be really helpful, because you would get a chance to kind of ask more about what's going on. And the more details that you get, the more you have a chance to kind of go, wait, did you think about it this way, right? And then you have that kind of data, for lack of a better way to put it. I think, accountability is something that's really difficult. It's really hard as a human to be like, what, I did this wrong, or I didn't mean this, apologize, be able to talk about it. But what's even harder than that is that when you have somebody in your life and you want to hold them accountable and you're afraid to, it can be scary to say to someone, hey, you might be wrong about that. But what almost is scarier is losing out on friendships, or losing out on, deepening those connections, because you're not being honest or truthful. And I guess, I talk a lot about kindness, but I also think there's a little bit of how can we be better at being kindly transparent and kindly honest. I mean, I think it was Kim Scott, I think that's the one person who wrote Radical Candor. She said sometimes it's not kind to not tell the truth or to not be open and honest about things, because you're leaving a part of it on the table. If somebody walks around in life and keeps making the same mistakes and has friends that just keep reinforcing that it's not their fault, it's not their problem, and they're justified to do what they do, then we're all going to stay stuck, right? We're all going to keep making the same mistakes. Challenging ourselves would be ideally the best way to do it, but if you're not capable of it in the moment, I think some of my best kicks in the butt have come from friends who have been like, Amanda, I don't know if you're right about this one. And I mean, I think the people that I end up opening up to the most are always the ones who do challenge me like that, because I trust it more, I know they're not just going to be a yes person, and they're not just going to tell me what I want to hear. They're going to, when they tell me that I'm right about something, I almost believe it even more, because I know that they wouldn't hesitate to tell me if I was wrong. So I guess my Auth 66 today is let's all try and be that way, respectfully honest, and give more feedback to the people that we have that are close to us, because it's a great way to encourage better accountability, but also to deepen those relationships and get to a place where you're building trust, not just because that person is giving you some weird vibration noise here. Not only because that person's giving you all the answers you want to hear, but that they're going to tell you even when it's not what you want to hear. Hope you had a good weekend too. See you tomorrow.